Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Joni Young and I'm going to show you step by step how to paint this Goddess of the Trees landscape. We're going to be using the following colors. I've got some cadmium yellow cool and I've also got a little bit of black. You're going to need some white. I'm using titanium today and we'll be using an 11 by 14 primed and stretched canvas and a large brush just for blending. This is the one I'm using and I'll leave a link below in the description if you're interested in getting it. It's a great little brush. Just going to start by doing this in grayscale first, and then we're going to create a glaze over top once that's dry with our yellow, and you're going to see some magic happen. It's going to be just amazing, guys. So just with a little bit of water on my brush first and a bit of gray mixed just with that black and white, I'm going to go all around really patchy and then come in and really start to make my bushes and my trees. I'll use more black where I want to have more contrast and deeper green tones, and more white where I want to have brighter golden shades of yellowy green. Now for the water, I'm just going to simply go up and down, flicking just straight up and down, and then feathering very lightly with my brush side to side. This is going to give you a very soft and gentle grid type of a pattern that will make that instant reflective water look. I want to create more of a highlight and focus that on the right side where the sun rays are going to be falling directly on the water right here. I'm just going to take some more titanium white and very lightly and gently pulling and flicking towards the left side. That way the paint just runs out of my brush naturally and I still have a lot on the right side. I'm going to go over again and do the opposite brush stroke in the opposite direction, or the same brush stroke in the opposite direction. And then I'm going to keep adding a little bit of white as the painting dries and progresses along. With the leftover white paint in my brush, I'm just going to scumble around and create some softer midtones here. Now it's time to tap in to that white, and I'm only going to apply highlights now, just tapping really lightly where I want to have the trees the brightest, where we're going to have that beautiful soft golden green color to those trees and really get that sense of warm sunlight. Now that I've got my bright highlighted trees, I'm going to come in and work on my shadows and contrast a little bit more. So just using a little bit more of my black, and you can use any black or white for this painting. This is just what I happen to have, and titanium white is always my preferred choice because I get the nicest, brightest colors with it. I also make really pretty pastel colors with the titanium white and my neon Holbein acrylics. It's a great choice if you like really bright colors and pretty pastels. So I'll finish off adding a little bit more here for my shadows and build up the base of the water here, just the little bank above the water, this lake or river. and then pull and flick down for that reflection and shadow in the water. Now we need to have a little bit of grass down here, some land where that tree grows out of, and all I'm going to do is just tap and pull and do short little flicks, kind of turning and making my brush go in little different directions so we get a feel of a little breeze blowing and making all those little blades of grass go in different directions. And now the painting is completely dry. You want to make sure that it's all dry before you come in and glaze. This is the fun part. So you're just going to take any brush that you want to do this, get it a little bit wet, and you choose whatever yellow or green that you want. Of course, I will list below all the colors I'm using today, which aren't very many, but this one happens to be the Cadmium Yellow Cool, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, in case you missed that. And I'm just going to brush all over, and again, I don't have to worry about messing up those gray tones underneath because I made sure it was completely dry first. So you can just go right over top and you'll see instantly how it turns to a beautiful green gold color. I'm really happy with how this is coming together. I want to brighten this up a little bit more, so I'm tinting my white with a little bit of that yellow, and I'm going to add that bright highlight reflection right here again, and then I'm going to start my sun rays, and I'm going to be applying those diagonally and thinly, so I'll use a little bit of water with my paint so it flows out really easily and it makes those sun rays nice and transparent. And if you're new to painting sun rays, I really recommend choosing a flat brush. Any brush with a flat, straight end to it is going to make it a lot easier for you to get those straight and even lines. If you're using a Filbert brush, it's got a round end, so it's going to be a little bit hard. You'll be fighting a curve to all of your sun rays, and that'll make you feel very frustrated and overwhelmed and like you want to quit. So I really recommend getting a flat brush. Okay, I just want to really saturate the foreground a little bit more in a patchy like way, so I'm not going to go over the entire area with the yellow. I'm going to add a thick amount to a few different areas just by tapping and then moving over to another spot constantly. So I do this quite quickly. The video is not sped up. I just paint really fast, guys. But you can all follow along and just keep up at your own pace, whatever you feel comfortable with. Remember that it's not a contest, it's not a race. You can watch this as many times, you can stop and pause, and you can also ask me questions. I'll try to answer you as quickly as I can below in the comment section. I'm switching over to a Filbert brush now, and I want to use a Filbert brush to give the tree a little bit more flow and a curviness, rounded tree trunk look to it. And then I'm taking my black. I've got some neon yellow warm by Holbein and a little bit of white. I'm going to take all three colors and begin my tree. Once I'm done my tree, I'm going to switch over to another brush and start making a really interesting bark type of pattern on this tree, and you'll see how easy and effortless it is by using a really interesting brush. So stay tuned for that, guys. I'm going to take what's left of my neon yellow warm and my yellow cool, my cadmium yellow cool, a little bit of white, apply that flat on my brush, and with my hand turned over, holding the brush this way, I can kind of just pull and drag and create a really neat highlight and textured look on the tree. You would get this same effect if you wanted to use a palette knife. I just prefer the feel of a paintbrush myself, but you can definitely use either one. Okay, we're ready for our next step. I've got an awesome brush here. This is an oval mop brush. This is just a 1-inch, but you could use a size larger or a size smaller if you wanted. If you don't have one of these, you can use any mop brush, a fan brush, or even a filbert brush. Coming in with some a next layer of foliage and leaves here. So we've got those in the background, and then we have these kind of in and amongst the tree trunk and the branches, just using a little bit more black than yellow to make it darker. Of course, it's going to dry a really dark, deep green gold shade, so it'll match everything else in this painting. All the colors are very they just all go together really well. So I'm not using a whole lot of colors today, but what I'm using is very nice and relaxing. It's a calming, soothing palette, and I really like to make this green with yellow. So if you don't have a green gold, then you can definitely just make it by using these two colors. But if you don't have cadmium yellow cool, you could use a warmer yellow. You'll just get a little bit of a different tone. And of course, you can use just green and black if you want as well. So we've done our darker leaves, and now we're going to come in and do some highlighted ones. So the same technique, same idea, just using our yellow and white instead. You want to be careful that you don't cover up all the dark ones. You just want to enhance and have a nice light and shadow effect going on. Now I'm going to switch over to one of my favorite brushes. This brush is amazing. I'm just going to add a little bit of foliage down here at the base of the tree. And then we're going to be using a Rake fan brush. And I love this brush because you can do so much with it. I use it for grass, fur, animal hair and fur. And I also use it for creating wood-like patterns and tree trunks and bark. So you'll see here, just taking the white, yellow, a little bit of black. You want to make sure you have enough water on your brush to help it flow easily. And we're just going to start pulling and sliding our brush around, creating really neat and instant pattern. So what really helps, and this is key, this is a really awesome little tip, push harder sometimes and then let off in other areas. So you're going to push, then let off while you're still pulling the brush. And applying a different type of pressure while you're pulling the brush will give you a really realistic look to your tree bark. Okay, I'm going to go back over to my Filbert brush now, and I'm going to make the one branch on the right side thicker. I'm also going to apply some shadows at the base of the tree and in part of the left side of the tree, just above the base. And I also start to begin the basic shape of our figure here, and I'm using my titanium white with my neon yellow warm. And this is again just a really loose impressionistic style of painting. No matter what level you're at, skill level, you can definitely do this. We're not painting any features. This is just light and shadow and shapes. So I want you guys to all know that you can do this and follow along at your own pace. Again, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll try to answer them the best I can to my ability in the comment section below, and as well on Patreon. For her dress, the brightest highlights on her dress, I'm going to just do white first, and then I'm going to tint that with a little bit of that beautiful neon yellow warm. And I'm going to be using a little bit of black for tinting my white with to create a little very light shade of gray for shadow. So they're going to be subtle shadows in the folds of her dress and in the front where she's standing, because the sun rays are behind her, so it's not going to be hitting, the sunlight is not going to be hitting the front of her dress. It's going to be hitting the side, around her hair, around her figure, kind of outlining, creating kind of like a glistening glow. And then on the very bottom parts of her dress, there'll be a few little areas that are dangling down where the sunlight is sort of filtering through the sheer fabric of her dress. The first layer of her hair I'm going to do in black, so we get a really nice dark base to work with. Then I'm going to make it more of an auburn reddish color by using a bit of burnt sienna as well as my neon yellow warm. I'll be adding little dots and dabs of white with a bit of neon yellow warm for little designs and decorations in her hair. So taking a mixture of both neon yellow warm and burnt sienna, you can add a little bit of white if you want. You can make the hair any color that you want, light or dark, it's up to you. Personalize it for a loved one or for yourself if you want. You really can't go wrong. And I'm just going to apply that over, creating a deep, dark, rich auburn color of hair. I'm going to use the same color that I used for her hair, but a little bit thinner with a little bit more white for her skin tone. So arms, and I'm going to paint inside, leaving the outer parts outlined with that sunlit glow. I'm going to also add the indication of a leg and the bottom of her foot, just peeking through the dress. I'll use the same colors for that, and then just add a little bit more for a shadow in and around the dress area where it meets the leg. Okay guys, after adding a little bit more light on her shoulder, part of her neck, and her profile there, I'm going to use my little Filbert brush, and you can definitely use a liner or a little round brush, whatever you feel like you have the most control with for this. And I'm just going to take white. You can use a little bit of the yellow with the white if you want to, the warm neon yellow, and just kind of alternate, making it look like it's a twisted braided design of little dots. So it could be little flowers or little ribbons or beadwork. And then I'll come in and just reapply some more of her hair here and there. Okay, it's time for highlights. So I'm gonna concentrate on all the areas that the sunlight would be filtering through her dress around the shape of her. And I'm gonna use white with a little bit of either cadmium yellow cool or a little bit of my neon yellow warm, or both. So as long as it's gonna be a nice, warm, bright yellowy color, you won't go wrong. So I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow so we can see a separation from her dress and her leg, and right under that dress there'd be a little bit of a shadow, so just a little bit of light gray there, that's all. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit more of a shadow on this side of her face. It would be a little bit more in silhouette, but not really dark silhouette, not full on. So I'm just going to make her forehead come up a little higher and add a little bit more right in her chest area here that meets over to her shoulder, and then make sure that I have her neck there as well. Okay, what I want to do now, and I mean, I'm using a little round brush here, so I want you guys to just use whatever brush that you feel comfortable with, a smaller brush, of course, when you're working on something smaller, and change it up from what I've got here. If you don't have the same brush I'm using, then use whatever you have to make it work. I'm going to add more saturation and highlights, little bits of foliage here and there below in the foreground. Optional, you really don't have to, it's up to you. You could add a little bit of flowers down there if you wanted to. A few little daisies would be pretty, maybe some lupin or foxgloves or some white roses, that would be really pretty. And I'm going to add more highlight to my water, and then a little bit more saturation and shadow on the right side. Throughout the rest of this video, which isn't very long, just a few minutes left, I'm going to just be repeating and doing the same steps, detailing my light highlights and shadows, my saturation, and overall just adding the finishing touches to this piece. I want to thank you guys so much for all of your support on my channel and Patreon. I wouldn't be where I am today on YouTube without you guys, and it really means a lot to me. I just hit a milestone and reached 100,000 subscribers, so I'm so excited. I can't believe it. I'm going to be doing a giveaway soon. Somebody's going to win an original painting of mine. Good luck, everybody, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye!